On the 26th of May in 2008, I reached the summit of Everest for the second time. My first ascent had been on the 21st of May in 2007 as a member of the Dream Everest expedition.
So, this is me on the top of Everest.
At that point in time, it was just that. A dream come true. Or perhaps, fulfilling a commitment to my Sherpa inheritance. The elation, the thrill, the pain, and the glory of standing on top of the world cannot be described. It can only be experienced. Little did I realize that this elation was going to be the start of a new awakening for me. After my first ascent in 2007, I returned to base camp ready to go home. But this was not to be. On the day I summited, a relative of mine had died while descending from the summit of Lhotse. I had promised her husband that I would bring her body down. The other high-altitude Sherpas were still on the mountain clearing camps and bringing down loads. I could not seek their support. A few Sherpas and guides had already brought the body down to Camp 1 and were waiting for support to cross the icefall. I had to go back over the notorious Khumbu icefall once again. As I made my way up, I met my Sherpa team rushing down with their loads, chanting prayers for safety and protection. The icefall had begun to melt. The slush on the trail was making it very difficult for the crampons to bite into the ice, and the ominous creaking of the ice indicated a possible collapse at any time. This was very unusual for late May. The Sherpas were literally running for their lives. As they passed me, they urged me to turn back. Fortunately, I listened to their advice. The same day, from that exact point, the entire ice field collapsed. Returning to Kathmandu, I learned that this was happening more frequently due to climate change. I also learned that this was not only a threat to us mountaineers, but to all the people living in our mountain region. I needed to find a means to raise people's awareness about the impact of global warming on the mountains. As a mountaineer, I knew that Mount Everest was a platform that stood above all. I decided to organize the Eco-Everest Expedition 2008, an effort to create awareness about the effects of climate change on our mountains and our deteriorating mountain environment. I wanted to initiate a campaign to create awareness not only in the international community, but more importantly, among the local residents who are at immediate risk. My attention was largely focused on how climbing expeditions and treks we organize and outfit could be operated in an eco-sensitive manner. My father has always taught me to see our mountains and the natural environment as our assets. It is our duty to look after them. I decided to return to Everest, to Chomolungma, Mother Goddess of the world, one more time to seek for possible solutions to help reduce the effects of global warming.
My name is Dao Sherpa. I'm on the top of Mount Everest. As you can see all around us, there's ice and snow and glaciers. But it's predicted that by 40 years, all this will have melted away. Not only will this be a loss for us mountaineers, this is a treasure for us, but it is also a vital necessity for billions of people who depend upon these glaciers for water.
Isimud understood and supported my vision. We collaborated to put together a plan of action. I was to look after the climbing expedition, and Isimud was responsible for running awareness programs in the Khumbu and at Everest Base Camp during the course of the Eco-Everest expedition. I wrote to friends and well-wishers in the international climbing community for their advice and suggestions and received tremendous encouragement and support. I had a basic concept that I simply pursued. People who heard about it wanted to be involved. I'm still overwhelmed by the amount of support I received. It is with their help, knowledge, support and encouragement that the Eco-Everest Expedition 2008 was a success. I integrated garbage cleanups and human waste removal into the expedition by simply offering an incentive or the facilities to do so. I'm absolutely convinced that given the choice and possibility, everyone would care for the environment. The 𝒂𝒏 Expedition 2008 offered 50 rupees, about 75 cents per kilo, to anyone who brought down from the mountain garbage and debris left by previous expeditions. I also offered a similar amount to anyone who collected garbage and debris left by previous expeditions at base camp itself. We collected a total of 965 kilos of garbage and debris by the end of the expedition. 665 kilos of garbage and debris was collected from around base camp. 300 kilos of garbage and debris was collected on the mountain, mostly from Camp 1, 2, and 3. Of the 965 kilos, 340 kilos were non-biodegradable and was brought down to Kathmandu for proper disposal. In order to remove human waste from the mountain, 𝒂𝒏 field tested two well-known products, the Clean Mountain Can, or CMC, and the Rest Stop bags. The CMC is a plastic bucket with a lid that can be tightly sealed and is used like a regular Western toilet. Rest Stop is designed to safely contain and neutralize human waste. Rest Stop bags are user-friendly and a convenient means to pack out solid waste. We use the CMCs only at Camp 2 as it remains a more permanent camp throughout the expedition. For Camps 1, 3, and 4, only the Rest Stop bags were used. The bags were carried back in bulk to base camp by the 𝒂𝒏 Sherpas. 𝒂𝒏 also set up toilet tents near the bakery area to provide toilet facilities for public use, thus limiting the human waste to a specific area. When I first set up the bakery at Everest Base Camp in 2007, it became a great success. Porters, tourists, climbers, Sherpas, yak drivers, traders, everyone dropped in for a cup of tea or a piece of apple pie. I requested 𝒂𝒏 to set up an information center next to the bakery. 𝒂𝒏 not only liked the idea, but went one step further and put up a photo exhibition showing 50 years of climate change in the Khumbu. The images were worth 1,000 words, especially to the many Nepalis who could not read English. They could see the changes to the landscape over the past 50 years. Soon, the bakery with its photo exhibition was the talk of the base camp village. In February 2008, I was invited to talk about the 𝒂𝒏 expedition at the annual dinner of the American Alpine Club in Golden, Colorado. During my presentation, Bill Putnam, past president of the American Alpine Club, raised the issue of fossil fuels being used by expeditions. Mr. Putnam's comments made me decide to address this issue also. During the climbing season, one expedition will use up to 20 liquid petroleum gas cylinders for cooking meals and boiling water. Not only does it release carbon emissions into the atmosphere, it is also expensive. Costs and porter wages amounting to nearly rupees 10,000, about $150 for one cylinder to reach base camp. The 𝒂𝒏 expedition field tested various renewable energy options on Mount Everest. A parabolic solar cooker, or PSC, contributed by the Center for Rural Technology, and a portable parabolic solar cooker contributed by Allard Lichtenberg. We also used TerryPens UV light sterilizers to purify water. This helped us to reduce our dependency on gas canisters at high altitude. I aimed to achieve two things by using these technologies: to prove that climbing expeditions can be run in an environmentally friendly manner, and to demonstrate their successful use to encourage others to use these technologies, whether on their own expeditions or at home. At the end of the project, my biggest discovery was how eager and willing people are to help. I had no idea how I would be able to complete such a huge task. The answers came from friends, family, well-wishers, and institutions. I learned that a regular climbing expedition in itself can deal with garbage it creates. Special cleaning expeditions do not necessarily have to be organized to do a cleanup. Anybody can take part. During one particular day, 10 of us went out and collected over 200 kilos in garbage just lying around base camp and at the bottom of the icefall. I hope that in the coming years, more expeditions and individuals will use these technologies. The biggest obstacle is not our physical limitations, but our mental attitude.
Finally arrived in camp 2. Solid day. Should have had breakfast. A little tired. Very hot. Extremely hot. Burned to a crisp. I would not mind some dal bhat, rice and lentils. Oh, so hungry.